Getting started in the product design industry is easier than you may think. In today's video, I'm going to give you some tips in order to get started in the product design industry. Maybe you're thinking of a career change, or maybe coming from a graphic design background, and all you want to do is make the switch over to UX. If you're new here, hi, what's up? I'm Gemma and I'm a senior product designer who shares tips about UX for free. If that's something you're interested in, then why not hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. With that said, let's talk about how you get into the product design industry. My first tip would be to do some research. Yes, this is something that everyone forgets to do. What I want you to do is really look into what it takes to be a UX or product designer. You can do this by checking out other designers online like myself and see how they're voicing their opinions within the UX industry. Currently, there's a really big community over on Instagram. Maybe you can start dropping some of these creators a DM and just ask them about the day-to-day processes and how they go around being a UX designer in their day-to-day life. Next, if you've decided that product design is the career you want to go into, then I really suggest you start to learn the basics. To be honest with you, this step does really depend on where you are within your career, but what I want you to do is learn the basics of design and how users interact with products. You will come across the term user quite a lot throughout your career. One thing to remember here is that UX is not always all about the user. UX is about aligning user goals with business needs. Now, what this means is that the business are also going to have some requirements and you have to make them link together. It's never all about the users. Most often or not, it's actually about the business. There are plenty of courses out there if you want to go down that route, and I'll leave a few in the link in the description below. Bootcamps are also another option. Some of these can be quite expensive, but some of them are also inexpensive. To be honest with you, I can't give you the perfect bootcamp to take because I personally haven't taken a bootcamp myself. But there are, of course, plenty of options out there available, so choose the right course that you think is best for you. Now, if you are very early on in your career and you've never seen UX before, I highly recommend taking a bootcamp. If you come from a design background, then maybe take another bootcamp which isn't so intensive, but just gives you the knowledge in UX. The quickest way to learn is to just start designing. A lot of new product designers or UX designers really don't start this step. It's mad when you think of it because this is what you'll be doing throughout your career. And to be honest with you, I do get it. Designing is very intimidating. But to be honest with you, this is the best way you can learn. You don't even need any software at this point. Just grab some pen, grab paper, and really start drawing out some basic wireframes. And all I mean by that is boxes and squares on a piece of paper and work out a product flow. Find an app that you really hate using and start asking yourself why. Don't just redesign an app because you don't like the way it looks. Really look into how it works and why it works, and then figure out what is wrong and then start designing. After you're done on pen and paper, move over to screen. Open up any design software of your choosing. I personally recommend Figma because it's free to get started on it, so why not just use that? Figma, Sketch, XD, they're pretty much all the same tools these days, but XD and Sketch you have to pay for. Figma you can just start using straight away for free. Don't worry if you don't even know how to use it. There are plenty of resources online that you can just start looking up and learning as you go. If you're very confident in graphic design and visual design, maybe now's the time to start looking at UI design. Again, if you're not confident in that, there are plenty of resources online that you can just start using straight away. I recommend having a look in the Figma community tab. There are plenty of templates you can start using, and this is the best way to learn. Just use some templates, come up with a solution, and just see how it goes. If you're creating an app, for instance, I recommend reading some Apple guidelines, and I'll leave a link in the description to that below. Reading these guidelines will really help you when it comes to designing apps, and this is the best way to get your app into the App Store. At this point, you can also start learning about color theory, grids, layouts, typography, Again, there are plenty of resources online, and if I find any which are useful, I will leave them in the description below. Next up would be share your designs. I know again how this can be extremely intimidating, but the sooner you start putting your designs in front of people, the sooner you can get feedback, because this is something you are going to have throughout your UX career. You're going to have loops and loops of feedback, so you may as well just get used to it now and not take things personally, because it's never an attack on you personally. Feedback on your work in order to improve. After you've gained some nice feedback, it's really now time to start looking into processes. Now, yes, UX design is actually a process. And that's not the only process you're going to have to follow. If you start working within a software company, you will pretty much need to become familiar with the whole agile process. And this is a way that you can deliver products quickly in slow iterative forms, meaning that this is a process that the company takes and you work within sprints. I do have a video on this and I will leave it in the description below. So if you want to learn a bit more about agile, then I'll highly recommend you watch that video. But as UX designers, we also follow a UX process. Now there are loads out there, from user-centered design, double diamond process. They're kind of all similar, but really find the process that resonates with you and use that process moving forward. Next up would be portfolio. Every UX designer, or every designer in general, is going to need a portfolio. Now, there are multiple ways that you can do this. You can have a Figma version, which I've seen lately. You can have a PDF version, or you can have an online website. It's always good to have about 5 case studies if you can. 3 is okay too, but having case studies on a website or in some sort of portfolio is really what's going to drive attention to you and allow companies to know exactly what you can do. They look at your processes, they look at the way you design, and they look at everything to do with UX to see if you are right for them. Choose a platform that's right for you and start building your case studies. Again, I do have a video on how to write a killer case study, and I will also leave that in the description below. After you have done all the other steps, it's now the scary time to start applying for jobs. Now, I know this is very scary and daunting, but the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to land a job. Now, there isn't really a timeline of how long it can take you in order to land your first job. To be honest with you, I've heard all different stories from all different people. There isn't really a timeline. I know boot camps sometimes promise that you could land your first UX job within 3 months. That is really unrealistic. You really start to learn about UX and the product design industry when you get your first role. So landing your first role is the most important thing, and then you learn more as part of that career. To apply for roles, you are going to need a CV or resume for you Americans, and your portfolio, and sometimes a cover letter. Again, there are plenty of templates you can use online. Just have a Google, you'll find plenty of templates. But what we really look for on your CV is your experience and what you're passionate about. I have seen throughout this industry that a lot of people are just doing one-page CVs. Now, I know that this may just be an American thing, but in the UK, we don't actually limit ourselves to a one-pager. It's completely up to you. So what I do recommend is having a snapshot CV with just a one-pager of all the information you need, but then also attach more pages explaining a little bit more about yourself, your experiences, your interests, and really allow people to see who you are and what you're passionate about. And that's it. These are all the basic tips I have in order to get into the product design industry. Just remember, these are not all the steps you have to take. There are going to be more steps, but these are just the basics. Because it all really depends on where you are within your career. Do you have any relevant experience before you start to transition, or are you at the very beginning and you don't have anything? You may need to do a bit more research, like for instance, do you really understand the difference between UX and UI? Because if you don't, then it's really good to learn about that as well. Also, just remember that no one's path is ever the same. Sometimes it takes people a long time, sometimes it takes people a short time. I hope you found this video helpful and useful, and if you do have any questions, then leave them in the comments below. And that's it. If you like this video, then please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also turn on notification bells to get notified every time I upload a new video. I'm really trying to grow this channel, so anything you can do to help, I'd be super grateful. I also offer one-on-one mentoring sessions over on my super peer, so if that's something you're interested in, then there's a link in the description below. And last but not least, if you want to follow me over on Instagram, you can do so here. And until next time, bye!